Oops, good Wednesday morning, everyone. I hope you're having a nice day so far. I am. I'm sitting in my daughter's old bedroom with their fan on, nice and cool. Um, Last night was good. We had uh, yesterday shrimp fried rice. I forgot for a moment. It was delicious. And I started using last week jasmine rice, which is so good. It's delicious. It's got real flavor because white rice and brown rice, not so much. So this is very good. And this morning, oh yes, yesterday I gave Nugget a little container with cold water in it with ice cubes and frozen blueberries, and she was very happy with that. And then later on, I added some carrot pieces because Rick added carrots to the fried rice. It was so good. And so she's been busy with that. And when I watered everything this morning that needed to be watered, I watered her a little bit too because it's hot. And she appreciated it. And then we saw, after we finished breakfast this morning, that she was sitting on the old waterer that we still have in her section, her area of the backyard from the original coop that we had. And she was sitting on the top. It was so cute. And then she flew down. Very, very cute. So it is time for Stories for Grown-Ups with Paula. So let's say hi to everyone who's listening out there. And hi, Kathy. Hi, Phyllis. Hi, Jeff. Hi, everyone who's listening. And I'm going to be reading you some more of What the Chicken Knows by Cy Montgomery. Okay. Lovingly, I lift the perforated lid to a straw-lined cardboard box not much larger than a big box of chocolates. The fluffy, peeping babies are still shaped like eggs. They'll never see the hen who laid the eggs from which they hatched. I'm their mother now, and I love them with a fierce tenderness that never abates. In my home office where I write, I give the chicks free run of a big box that once shipped a refrigerator carpeted with newspaper and wood shavings and warmed by a heat lamp. From the first time I did it, raising chicks in my office seemed perfectly normal to me. I showered in the morning with a cockatiel, slept with a dog, and spent many summer hours lying in a field with a pig. Why shouldn't I have peeping chicks in my office? Most of the day, at least one chick, often two, is somewhere on my body. For the next 6 weeks, until their baby down is replaced with feathers, I spend my days writing with a chick or two on my lap, beneath my sweater, on my shoulder or knee, yanking at the tiny gold cross around my neck, or worse, hopping onto the keyboard signals it is time to switch chicks. When I speak with strangers on the phone, they've been known to ask, "Are you calling from a zoo?" Meanwhile, something magical has happened. Konrad Lorenz, the Nobel laureate credited with founding the modern study of animal behavior, called it imprinting. Students of animal behavior are careful to note that imprinting is not instinct, it is not learning, it is something of both. Most newly hatched game birds, including turkeys, ducks, chickens, and geese, will follow the first moving object they see, which is usually, of course, their mother. But working with hatchling gray-lag geese, Lawrence discovered that the babies don't instinctively recognize adult geese as members of their species. If a person is the first moving creature the gosling sees, the baby will follow the person as if he were the parent. As attested by many a charming photo of the white-bearded scientist walking down a path or rowing across a pond in his hometown of Altenburg, Austria, with a string of fluffy goslings following in single file behind. Raising baby chicks in my office involves a great deal of cleanup. Unsightly blotches stain my clothing and dry in my hair. And when the downy chicks begin to grow feathers, every surface in my office, my books, photos, maps, notebooks, computer, is coated with a thick layer of powdery dust. Each new feather grows in a quill covered with a sheath of keratin, the same stuff as our fingernails. As the feather blossoms, the keratin breaks off in tiny pieces. Though this will happen again whenever a feather is replaced, never again is dust released in such quantities. But it's well worth it. I adore these fearless, busy little souls already so full of life and purpose. I am honored to follow in the footsteps of a great ethologist, as my chicks will follow in mine. And imprinting has a later benefit as well. Human imprinted babies later direct toward their person many of the inborn responses that normally would be shared only with a member of their own species. In this way, I become an honorary chicken. chickens with poofy top knots, chickens with feathered feet, chickens with turquoise earlobes, chickens who lay green eggs, though not with ham, chickens with tails that can grow 20 feet long. When I placed my initial order with the hatchery, I had many breeds to choose from. Chickens have been living with people for a very long time, by some reckoning as long as 8,000 years, longer than donkeys and horses, longer than camels or ducks, and by some accounts even longer than pigs and cattle. Starting with the red jungle fowl of Southeast Asia, who looks pretty much like the rooster on the Kellogg's Cornflakes box, through selective breeding, people have created as many as 350 different varieties of chickens. Chickens spangled with iridescent feathers, chickens with naked necks. These are called turkins, but are really chickens, not crosses with turkeys. Chickens standing tall on long legs like basketball players. Miniature chickens called bantams who might weigh only a pound. Every winter we muse over the catalogs of the chicken hatcheries the way gardens dream over seed catalogs. We glance at the bargains. One catalog carries a top hat special, an assortment of crested breeds from the five-toed mottled Houdins as to the golden buff-laced Polish, all of whom look like they are wearing giant curly wigs made out of feathers. Even the babies sport little top hats. There's usually a special on feather-footed fancies. All these varieties have feathered feet, making the birds look a bit like they are wearing floppy slippers. There is even a fly tire special, a selection of chickens whose feathers can be used to fashion particularly attractive fishing lures. Of course, we ignore the frying pan and barbecue specials. I'm a vegetarian and certainly wouldn't eat anybody I know. Well, I still eat chicken. What we're really looking for, and so does Rick, what we're really looking for are handsome, vigorous chickens who do well in cold climes. With their glossy black feathers, red upright combs, and ample bodies, our black sex links were all these things. We sometimes called them the nuns, especially when they raced out of their coop each morning like a flock of chatty sisters leaving a convent in their billowy black habits. Such a uniform experience did they present that, without noting the subtle differences in the shape of their combs, it was nearly impossible to tell them apart. Scientists faced with this problem sometimes outfit the hens with numbered armbands affixed to a wing. And they sell, which we have, little bracelets you can put on the chicken's leg in different colors. So this way, hopefully you remember which chicken is which. Well, we did it, and at least one of the chickens figured out how to get rid of it, and we never remembered which was which. They all look the same, and we did our best. Adding birds of different breeds presaged an important change in our understanding. Now that it was easier to tell birds apart, the distinct personalities of individuals began to reveal themselves more clearly. Kate and Jane next door took this opportunity to give the chickens names. I had not done so before because of a military adage learned from my father, an army general, which warns, "Never name the chickens." I knew this wasn't about poultry, but about the commander's responsibility to remain objective about the troops he must choose to send into battle. But somehow it always stuck with me that something bad would happen if you named your hens. In fact, the only one of the nuns who'd been named before the arrival of the new babies bore the badge of near catastrophe. The girls named her Foxy Lady after an encounter with a fox left her with no tail feathers. But with the coming of age of our creamy buff speckled Sussexes and our black and white Lakenvelders came more names. Snow White, one of the lakes, who was exceptionally beautiful and loved to fly. Madonna for a loud and theatrical speckled Sussex. Matilda for one of the remaining black sex links who now older walked with a rolling gait resembling a waltz. Soon it became evident that some hens were consistently outgoing and others shy. Some were loud and others quiet, some cautious and others reckless. This was particularly obvious whenever the hens faced a threat, such as a hawk flying overhead. Some hens hid in pricker bushes, others raced inside the coop. Some dashed behind a large board that leaned against an outside wall of the barn. Some individuals would continue to hide for more than an hour. They were so good at hiding that sometimes, alerted by their alarm calls, I'd rush outside to try to defend them and spend half an hour trying to find them and entice them from their hiding places. Brassy Madonna was often first to emerge, while Foxy Lady, surely remembering the horrible fox, stayed immobile the longest. But all of them understood that even though the hawk might not be visible, it still might be lurking somewhere nearby. Chickens both remember the past and anticipate the future. This has been clearly demonstrated in the laboratory. In one study published in the journal Animal Behavior, Silso Research Institute biologist Siobhan Abizinghi, I hope I said that right, and her co-authors tested hens with colored buttons. When hens pecked at a particular button, they were rewarded with food. But they got an even bigger reward if they learned to postpone their pecking. If they waited for up to 22 seconds, they got even more to eat. The birds chose to wait for the jackpot more than 90% of the time. And that's where I'm going to stop for today. And I find that so interesting. Chickens really are smart. And I have to say, I was one of the first ones who used to call them bird brains, especially with one of the first chickens we had, Omelet, who, because we had 3 chickens originally. And one day, the other 2 chickens, Bullseye and Scrambled, I think it was Scrambled, went under the our deck looking for bugs and grass. Yeah, well, Omelet stood on the steps of the deck and was looking around and calling for them. And I said, if you go down the steps, they're right there, silly. But there's certain things chickens don't do, and other things they do that shows they're very, very smart. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your day today. I know I will. And don't forget to follow me because I'm fun. You can find Stories for Grown-Ups with Paula on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And don't forget to follow me everywhere I post because it makes me so happy when I see I have more followers. Enjoy your day. I know I will. Bye-bye.